Right, good morning, everyone. It's September 5th, 2025, in the Washington and North Idaho fire weather briefing. We have Valerie, myself in Spokane, representing Eastern Washington and North Idaho, and we have Kayla from Seattle representing Western Washington. As always, this meeting is being recorded, and by joining and participating in this session, consent is being given to the recording. Please keep your cameras off per NOAA Privacy Act statement. So I just wanted to show what's going on currently. We're still kind of under this very amplified upper level ridge with some kinks that are bringing showers and thunderstorm chances across Oregon right now, and that will be kind of migrating northward into Washington this afternoon and evening, and then more as we get into Saturday and into the weekend. And just looking at kind of like a more zoomed in view, you can see that much of the region is covered in smoke. It does look more drastic on this morning satellite, but our AQIs are in like 100 to 200 across Eastern Washington. And so we'll see that smoke kind of hanging around for the next couple of days until we start trending cooler and wetter. And you can see across the Cascades in Oregon and even parts of the southern Washington Cascades, we're seeing some thunderstorms and showers this morning, with most of it in Oregon, but there have been some scattered stuff in Washington as well. And for our fire weather summary, I'll pass it over to Kayla to talk about Western Washington first.
Thanks, Valerie. So like you kind of mentioned, today we have some elevated fire weather concerns. We're still kind of warm, dry, and unstable. We're going to see a chance for some isolated thunderstorms, especially in the southern Cascades, like you kind of mentioned. We're having some activity there, but we're going to see that in the afternoon. And then heading into tomorrow on Saturday, we're going to see more of a widespread chance of some isolated thunderstorms, mainly across our whole Cascade zones and maybe, even in our interior zones as well. And then as we head into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we will trend cooler, and we're looking like we're going to have some precipitation, some showers in our area. So hopefully that will dampen our fire weather concerns in the long term.
Thanks, Kayla. So for Eastern Washington, North Idaho, we do have elevated for the next 3 days through Sunday. Today, it's mostly still hot and dry and unstable, although temperatures have cooled a bit compared to the last couple days, and the extensive smoke cover will likely drop down temperatures a couple degrees than what it would have been if there was not smoke. And similar across North Idaho, warm and dry and slightly marginally unstable. But as for this afternoon and evening, there is that 5 to 15% chance across Eastern Washington, Cascades, although the chances do look better once we get into Saturday and Sunday. And so for Saturday, it does actually, we're starting to see moisture and instability increasing Saturday and Sunday into early next week. And we'll initially see thunderstorm best chances across the Cascades Saturday afternoon and parts of far southeast Washington, maybe the Blues Mountains. And then that chance will increase Saturday night and maybe some nocturnal thunder across eastern Washington, maybe even to the Spokane area, and to northeast Washington, although confidence is lower for the nocturnal thunder in those areas. And our concerns would be, since it's so dry initially starting out, thunderstorms will, even though it's coming with an increase in moisture, the current dry boundary layer will limit overall precipitation, especially outside of the stronger thunderstorm cores, with potential for new fire starts and also gusty outflow winds with those storms. And then as we get into Sunday, it'll start trending cooler, but chances for showers will continue. And kind of talking about the threat for nocturnal thunder across northeast Washington as well in North Idaho, Sunday night into Monday. And kind of that continues into next week, although it will trend much cooler and wetter with daily chances for showers and thunderstorms. And with those thunderstorms, there could be some breezier, gusty winds with any showers that develop, but we're not really seeing any big significant wind events, with more of a gradual transition from this hotter ridge to that cooler pattern. Right, so I'll get into the hazards right now. We just have widespread air quality alerts out across eastern Washington and North Idaho. And if we look into the weather, you can see temperatures. We did drop down our forecasted temperatures a bit due to that smoke for today. And our minimum RHs, it will still be dry with RHs in the teens and the low 20s across eastern Washington and North Idaho, and then in the 30s across most of the Cascades, and then even the 50s in interior 50s and 60s across the interior western Washington. And then prop thunder, we do have that chance for lightning today, primarily across the southern Washington Cascades, but we do see chances like 10 to 15% chance sneaking northward into like central and parts of the northern Cascades. Kayla, do you want to mention anything about day one?
No, yeah, just the localized Southern Cascades is our problem area today, and then day two hopefully will be more widespread across our Cascades.
Yeah, so day two, kind of like Kayla mentioned, there will be more widespread threat across the Cascades and even western Washington and the parts of eastern Washington, although the best chances in the afternoon and evening will be across the Cascades. There is that 10 to 15% chance sneaking a little bit eastward. But then as we get into Saturday night, there is that 10 to 15% chance across a broad swath of like Spokane area, even into parts of Northeast Washington overnight. And that would be more elevated nocturnal lightning. So that would be kind of concerns for new fire starts as well, and some gusty outflow winds. And so for Saturday, tomorrow actually does look a bit warmer across eastern Washington and North Idaho compared to today, and a bit more unstable as well. So temperatures, maybe the smoke will drop it down a few degrees as well, but as that ridge and we start kind of moves eastward and we also starting to see more moisture come in, more southerly flow, we'll actually see a little trend upward in temperatures a bit, but then it cool back down for Sunday into next week. And similar with the RHs for day two, it will actually be a little bit drier Saturday afternoon with the increase in temperatures across eastern Washington, North Idaho compared to Friday. Then, as I've mentioned, we are trending wetter as we get into later in the week. Again, this will be initially be mostly with showers and kind of the heaviest precipitation within the stronger cores of showers and thunderstorms, but day one has a little bit of precipitation across kind of southwestern Washington and isolated pockets of not a wetting rain, but very light rain. And then for day two, we start to see the more widespread threat for heavier precipitation. This is Saturday as we get into just more scattered thunderstorms and showers, seeing heavier precipitation. And then kind of day three as well, just kind of a widespread threat for some precipitation with localized heavier amounts under stronger cores. And this trend continues into next week as we see multiple rounds of showers. So I'll pass it over to Kayla to talk about the trend sites for Western Washington.
So yeah, so taking a look at Lahana Prakash here, you can see, Friday and Saturday, the lower relative humidities. And then like the main thing is like the trend of getting cooler and having better relative humidity recoveries overnight due to that low pressure and just trending into a cooler pattern. So that's why, really wanted to highlight that, today and tomorrow with the unstableness of the thunderstorms. And then, as we go into the long term, we're going to have lower activities, hopefully of fire weather danger, just because we're going to be entering in a cooler pattern.
Thank you. And I want to show Dry Creek to represent Central Washington. Just very similar trends across the state for this week. Today and tomorrow will be warm and even hot tomorrow with poor to fair overnight recoveries as that ridge remains overhead. But then as we get into Sunday, into next week, we kind of stay in this little in this relatively cooler pattern with better minimum RHs and even good to excellent overnight recoveries, especially in the valleys. And then for these next 2 days, we'll see those diurnal trends in wind directions, but then as we get into later in the week, kind of a more predominant westerly to northwesterly wind direction for central Washington, and just increases chances for precipitation and cloud cover as well. And then as we get into eastern Washington and North Idaho, very similar. You can see this actually does show pretty well that today will be a bit cooler, and then once we get into tomorrow and that ridge shifts a bit eastward and more southerly flow, we'll see temperatures perk back up again for Saturday, and just continuing that trend as we get into later in the week with better recoveries in cooler temperatures and higher chances of precipitation and cloud cover. And I wanted to mention that, yeah, with any thunderstorms that do occur, this will initially bring the potential for some gusty winds and even some small hail at any of the stronger cells that pop up. And so for the 8 to 14 day outlook, we are leaning towards above normal temperatures with, although it will be relatively cooler, still be leaning above normal for this time of year, but this also comes with above average precipitation, leaning above average with kind of multiple rounds of showers and maybe even a more robust system later by the middle of the month. As always, you can do your self-briefing at weather.gov/otx/fire dashboards, where you can also view our recordings. If anyone has any questions, they can raise their hand or write it in the chat, and I will stop this recording.